Hello, my amazing Algebra Half students. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. And today we're doing lesson 119 in addition 2 and 113 in addition 3. The distance between the two is widening here. Measuring lengths is what we're working on today. But because of the topic, we're going to do this one basically looking at the book because it's very hard to draw rulers on here, and that would take me a long time. So we're going to work through this one using the book. So here is our textbook, and it says we use a scale to measure lengths. The numbers on an inch scale tell the number of inches the long marks are from the left of the scale. So here we have inches right here. Okay. There are 16 marks between the inch marks. So here we have an inch mark. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then there's another 8 till we get to the end of the inch mark. Okay, so the marks are 1/16 of an inch apart. So since this whole thing is an inch, then each little mark is 1/16 of an inch. Now, here we've got these little marks that come down a little bit further. You see the half mark comes down further. So here's the 1 inch and the 2 inch, and those are the longest marks on the ruler. But then the half marks are just a little bit shorter. So that's a half an inch, 1 whole inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 2.5 inches, 3 inches. But then in between the halves, there's another mark that goes down, but not quite as far as the half. Those are the quarter inches. So 1/4, 2/4, and 2/4 is the same as a half. 3/4, 4/4, and 4/4 is the same as a whole. Okay, so 2 of the spaces between these smaller marks equal 1/8 inch. So what they're saying is 2 of the 16ths equals 1/8. So this would be 1/8 right here. 4 of the spaces between the shorter marks make 1/4 inch. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of the spaces, since each one of the spaces is a 16th, 4/16 is the same as 1/4. How far is arrow G from the left end of the scale? So where is arrow G? Okay, so there's arrow G right there. And since it is one little mark after the 4 inches, then we would say G is 4 and 1/16 inches. So here their answer. The small spaces are 1/16 inch from the spaces on either side. The arrow G is 4 and then 1 little 16th space from the left end of the scale. Use an inch scale to find the length of this line segment. Okay, so now they put the inch scale underneath this line here. And so when we look at it, it doesn't quite make it to the 3. So we know it's 2 and something. So let's see, we've got, that's 4, that's 8/16, that's 12/16. So that would be 13/16 because it's just one little mark past the 2 3/4. So since we're going to have to go to a 16th mark, we're going to make that, instead of 3/4, we're going to call it 12/16, and then one more would be 13/16. So 2 13/16 inches long. No measurement is exact. This reading is to the nearest 16th of an inch. Okay, so now we're talking about the metric scale. The numbers on a metric scale tell the number of centimeters the long lines are from the left end of the scale. There are 10 short lines between each pair of long lines. These short lines are 1 millimeter apart. A millimeter is a tenth of a centimeter. A metric scale is much easier to read than an inch scale. Okay, so here are centimeters, and notice centimeters are much smaller than inches. In fact, there are just about 2.5 centimeters in every inch. Okay, so how far is arrow D from the left end of the scale? So here's D. So we'll get down there as close as we can without getting fuzzy. So here's 4 centimeters from the left of the scale. And then we've got 2 more tenths. So we've got 4.5 and 2 more tenths. So a half is 5 tenths. And then 2 more tenths would be 7 tenths. So 4 and 7 tenths is 4.7. Use a centimeter scale to measure the length of this line segment. So here's the line segment. And then they already went ahead and put a nice little ruler underneath it. So we can see that it's past the 5. How many little marks? It doesn't even make it to 5.5, does it? Because here's 5.5. The little line does not make it to 5.5. So let's count how many little spaces. 1, 2, 3. Okay, looks like it's 3 little spaces. So that would be 3 tenths. So 5 and 3 tenths, or 53 millimeters, or 5.3 centimeters. The cool thing about metric is to go from centimeters to millimeters. Since the little ones are millimeters, there are 10 millimeters in every centimeter. So here's a centimeter, and there are 10 millimeters. So 5 centimeters is 50 millimeters, and then we just add the 3 to get 53 millimeters. Okay, now here are our practice problems. Use an inch scale and a centimeter scale to measure the length of this segment. Okay, so we're going to have to, since they didn't do that for us, we're going to have to get a ruler and do that ourselves. Okay, you can see that I have a protractor here that has centimeters on the top part, but inches on the bottom. So in centimeters, I will place the left-hand side of my protractor here, because I'm looking at this scale right here. And I'll place it right there, and I'll go to the end and look. It looks like it's right on 7 centimeters. So 7 centimeters, and then we'd have to do the inches. So the inches are at the bottom of the scale. So I'll put the bottom of the scale here on the line. And it looks like it's 2 1/4 1/2 and 3/4. Okay, so 2 3/4, because this one right here is 3. Even the little hole doesn't let you see it. That's the 3 mark right here. So that's 3/4, 2 3/4 inches. Now it says, how far are the arrows from the left end of the scale? So A arrow here, now we're in inches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sixteenths of an inch. We haven't even gotten to 1 yet, have we? So that one would be 7 sixteenths. What about B? Okay, B is, let's count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 sixteenths, and 14 sixteenths would be the same thing as 7 eighths. Okay, let's look at C. C is right on one of the lines. It's not the longest line. This is a quarter line. So it would be right at 1 1/4 inches. D is at the half line. So that would be 1.5 inches. E is at an 1/8 line. So here's the 2 inches. So we'd have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8. So 2 3/8. And F is on a 16th. So we're going to count by 16ths. 2, and let's count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So 2 9/16. Tell how far these arrows are from the left end of the centimeter scale. So remember the centimeter scale, there's 10 little millimeters in between. So we would say that here's 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters. So A is 6 millimeters. B is 1 6 millimeters, or 1.6 centimeters. So we could have said this was 0.6 of a centimeter, or 6 millimeters. Okay, then this one is 2 in front of the 3, so that's going to be 2 8/10. And then D looks like it's 3 from the 5, so that would be 4 7/10. So here's our last one. It says use an inch scale and a centimeter scale to find the approximate length of the line segment. So we have to get our protractor again. And so here is our centimeter scale. I'll put the end of it right on the line. And that is right at 6 centimeters. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the inch scale. Put it all the way to the end. And it looks like it is 2 5/16, because there look like there's 5 little hack marks in there. 2 5/16. And we are done. That was a little bit different lesson, but you can see how long it would have taken me to draw all of those rulers, and I would not have been very accurate either. So that one was a good one to do in the book. And we're done with that lesson. So hopefully you learned what you needed to know. And this is Mrs. A, and may God bless your day.